Alrighty, welcome back, guys, to the Overwatch League. I'm Achilles, hopping on the cast here to round out the weekend with Avril. Big thanks to Vicky and Trid for holding down the fort here at the beginning, but we will be guiding you through the final two series of our opening week here in the APAC region. Coming up next, potential banger of a match. We have the Seoul Dynasty going up against the Chengdu Hunters. It's been a little bit of a rough start for Seoul so far, Avril. They were able to get their first win yesterday, but had to fight for it, tooth and nail. They do get it on the board, and Chengdu Hunters on the other side, they looked pretty damn clean coming in.
Yeah, Chengdu Hunters so far, to be honest with you, though, they did play a pretty, unfortunately, weak-looking Guangzhou Charge, which also just saw versus the Philadelphia Fusion as well. Seoul Dynasty, I'd say a little bit more tested, but they do look weaker than expectations. We expected them to be a top team. Shanghai Killers, I even described them with when I looked at their initial roster, especially when Jonak was still part of that roster. And now, looking at the results and looking at how they performed so far, definitely below where those expectations are. So we're going into, the Orange Bowl. I don't know, Seoul versus Chengdu. This is one of the really cool rivalries that we do have in APAC. Produced one of the best games that we actually had last season, especially when Chengdu played on stage at one of the home stands versus Seoul, and that actually got Chengdu into one of the tournament stages as well.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're going to be fighting tooth and nail to try to get that win on the board. Chengdu looking for the 2-0. Dynasty looking to kind of just show that, this roster does have a huge ceiling that we can really take advantage of. We've seen moments of brilliance from them. Of course, they have so much star power on this roster. They still have the Profits lineup. You've got Smurf joining in that tank position. You've got Creative, who has just been a phenomenal support player since he joined this squad. It just hasn't really meshed yet. It's a little bit similar to, I guess, what we've kind of been seeing from the side of the Shanghai Dragons so far, where it just hasn't been clean, but we know what these players are capable of. This is going to be a big moment for them to try and prove that they can push that ceiling even further. They can be and remain as one of the top teams here in the APAC region. If they can get through the Chengdu Hunters, especially given how clean they looked versus the Charge, I think it's a really big boon for the Seoul Dynasty moving forward through the season. Like you said, Chengdu, a weaker opponent in the Guangzhou Charge, but they still looked absolutely phenomenal. Very few mistakes being made, and that's what you want to see from a team when they are playing against a weaker squad, is that they're not leaving these exploitable weaknesses, these moments that can be taken advantage of. We did not see that from Chengdu, so they're going to have their work cut out for them, Seoul Dynasty, if they want to get this win.
Although contextually, I mean, we talk about Guangzhou being weaker, but Guangzhou did beat the Valiant, who nearly beat the Seoul Dynasty yesterday, but that was a 2-3 scoreline. So, I mean, transitive property. The fact that Seoul nearly lost to Valiant, I mean, if they did lose to Valiant, legitimately you would have to put Seoul maybe at the bottom of the APAC power rankings because, again, transitive property would kind of say that. Or, I would say that LA Valiant have looked probably better than the Guangzhou Charge, especially when you saw how good they were versus the Seoul Dynasty. To me, Seoul is still trying to figure out what their read on the meta is supposed to be, because they're playing a lot of Fit Sombra. We saw the Doomfist being played by Smurf as well. Vicky and Trid commented yesterday that Seoul were basically on kind of like the Smurf tank roulette, right? He was just playing every single tank on the entire tank roster. They hadn't quite landed on like, okay, what is our playstyle? What is our composition? Where are our strengths? They're kind of playing things all over the place, and they haven't quite just landed in one area and say, hey, this is going to be our niche. This is our strength.
Yeah, which is a little bit weird considering that it's Smurf, and you would think that if they're going to fall back on one singular tank that they would be able to very heavily rely on, it would be the Winston. But we're seeing him go all over the place, seeing the Doomfist, seeing the Reinhardt there on Control Center as well in Lijiang Tower last night. So it has been bouncing all over the place, and it's one of those things where it's like, at some point, maybe we just need to stick to things that we are comfortable with. Maybe we need to just go to these picks that we know that we can really perform on, that are still incredibly strong and still incredibly meta right now in Overwatch 2. But they have been showing some inconsistency there. But we'll see if they can find it today. It would be a really great time for them to do so. We'll take a look at the starting 5, though. For the Seoul Dynasty, it's going to be Profits duo there in the DPS, Smurf, Creative, and Vindame, of course.
And a player I actually want to highlight is Creative. He really impressed me yesterday, hit a ton of sleep darts. I knew this guy was, better than the results showed last year from what Seoul had achieved. I knew that he was better than probably the community narrative as well that was saying that, the support lineup of Seoul was not that impressive. While Animo's having great success on Florida now, Creative is still mechanically fantastic on the Seoul Dynasty, so it was definitely a big part of their success in keeping their heads above the water versus the LA Valiant. I would still like to see a bit more out of the DPS line, considering Stalker's also there. We saw a tiny bit of him. Speaking of new rookies coming in, Dynasty debuted for the Chengdu Hunters in their opening matchup with Guangzhou, and he looked solid. I mean, the Zarya came through. Chengdu wanted to play a lot of Zarya, and you know, credit where credit is due. He filled some big shoes in the team.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we were highlighting after that series that kind of concluded was that, you know, Dynasty comes in, he makes his debut here in the Overwatch League, and things still look very consistent for the side of the Chengdu Hunters. It didn't really feel like there was too many jitters or disconnects in the communication and the teamwork once he did step in for that King's Row map. Got picked a couple of times, but overall, you kind of could have turned the nameplates off, and I probably would have been like, oh, Gaga's just having a slightly rougher time here on King's Row. Otherwise, looked phenomenal. So now they're going to be starting him off versus Seoul Dynasty, which, again, you look at the power levels overall, you would consider that this is a little bit more of a bold move compared to putting him in against the Guangzhou Charge.
Yeah, you have. I definitely think this is a meta kind of read for the Chengdu Hunters, where they have the choice between Gaga and Dai's, right? So you have this distinction between the hero pools. Gaga's going to come in for Winston and Doom. Maybe even the odd Reinhardt. Don't know if I want to speak that into existence just yet. Chengdu seemed allergic to playing any sort of Rein-based composition. Maybe they'll get away with not playing it ever again. But Dai's definitely coming in for the Zarya. I mean, I think Zarya has been a huge part of APAC meta, has been developing also in the NA region as well, over in the western side, namely from the Dallas feel, right? I think there's an interesting dichotomy happening in NA, actually, just to speak on that one briefly in terms of where the meta is, because you have the San Francisco Shock leading the charge with the Winston meta and the Dallas feel leading the charge with the Zarya meta, and not quite sure which of those two compositions is going to reign supreme just yet until those two teams meet. And so we come over to the APAC region, the Eastern Division, and it's been, I would say, mostly Zarya, with a few teams running the Winston to good success. We just saw Bellasaria from the Philadelphia Fusion doing a great job on that Winston, as well as I think Rio has done a pretty good job on the Winston as well.
Yeah, I was going to say give the shout out to Rio. I think that if Chengdu Hunters, though, I think we both know that they're probably going to avoid Reinhardt because they don't have their best Rein player anymore, and that was Amon. You know, I think back to 2019, M-Light versus Vancouver Titans, and they said, screw it, we're not going to run the Wrecking Ball anymore. Let's just try to match them, and they really managed to push them to the limits. But, yeah, likely just going to be sticking with what we're seeing much more, be much more comfortable in the meta thus far. I know you guys want to get into the game quickly. We do as well, but the players, they're taking their darn time. We're waiting for them to get into the lobby so that we can get things underway. So I need to make sure that everything is settled on there, and then we will go ahead and press the start game button. So for now, chat, you guys, you're just stuck with us for a little bit longer. You get to listen to Avril and I talk about whatever the hell we want to.
Do we get the map pool just yet? I think I might just go over that really quickly as well. Just to talk about, not to name every single map, but just to talk about, like, you know, maybe what some of the expectations will be. Interesting enough for not entirely sure how it's kind of working here, but day 3 here for APAC in our first week, we've actually swapped back to a double control format for the map pool instead of the double push. So we be starting out in control, ending on control as well. So we talked about the fact that Chengdu Hunters want to roll out onto our first control map, which will be Ilios with Daizy. So they're going to play Zarya on Ilios. And thinking back on it, I think we've seen a fairly equal amount of Winston and Zarya on this map so far. Smurf is a very interesting play to talk about because he's the only tank on Seoul Dynasty, right? So he has to cover everything. So this kind of Seoul / Smurf tank roulette that's been happening, well, yeah, he kind of has to do all of it. I will say I'll throw him a bone for the Circuit Royale map because you do normally play a decent amount of Sigma on that map, although we saw some Rhine being played yesterday between London and Houston, which is also quite effective on that map. I think this should be a pretty dominant Winston metaphor Smurf, right? If I was going to choose, if I was in Toby's shoes, head coach of Seoul, I would say, Smurf, your best hero is probably the Winston. We should probably build a team around a Winston-based composition and lean into the Winston meta, look at what Shock are doing overseas as well, and kind of emulate the successes there, because you have one of the better Winston players, if not one of the best Winston players. To me, that seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that a lot of the Dynasty fans from last night who were close to having cardiac arrest would also agree with you, very much so. So we'll see if they have that piece together. We'll see if they've kind of gotten through the mental gymnastics to say, you know what? Smurf Winston, good. Let's play around that. But time will tell. We're still waiting for those guys to get loaded up here so that we can jump into the action. But one of the things that I now look forward to, hearing that we're going to Ilios first, is Pharah, perhaps? Jinmu, maybe? Question mark? Do we see it? We saw it yesterday from Alpha Yi, and the man was absolutely clapping. That was on Lijiang Tower, on Garden. Still an incredibly good map, but Ilios, you think Lightness, you think, well, that goes hand in hand with the Pharah. We've been seeing most people kind of stray over towards the Echo, just because there's a little bit more diversity in that playstyle, a lot more burst pick potential, as well as the duplicate ult being able to find an immense amount of value if you can actually build up. But I'm thinking of those two kind of things overlapping, and I'm just kind of chomping at the bit now and maybe, even having my mouth water over the idea of Jinmu going back over to the Pharah after so long away from it now.
Wait your taste buds on that one. It will be interesting because Fitz is obviously on the other side, has the option to go for towards either the Widow or most likely the Soldier in this case. That hopefully will not be playing any Sombra today, but the dangerous thing about the Pharah is that you do still have to run that Mercy to combo to get the pairing with, and that kind of removes one of your support heroes from, I guess, your normal stack of what would have been a stack of 4 in Overwatch 1 now becomes a stack of 3 because of the 5v5, and you have a Pharah and a Mercy off into a corner. It's kind of been why I think the Echo is just more dominant in this particular meta. First of all, because Echo does kind of have a positive matchup into the Pharah, but second of all, yeah, I mean, the Echo, super flexible, high burst damage, kind of achieves a lot of the same goals as what you would want out of a Pharah, but a lot more to bring to the table. And if Jinmu can sort of add an Echo to his hero pool, I think that would round out his particular flex DPS pool to a much more valuable degree, because Leave has been your primary Echo player for this team, and now we go back to 2021 where the Leave Jinmu duo is good in very specific settings, but in otherwise super inflexible. Despite Leave being probably the most flexible player in the world, Jinmu's hero pool is so limited that it forces Leave onto certain heroes because Jinmu can't quite play them, and then you have to kind of play around Jinmu's hero pool. So you need to see Jinmu's hero pool being developed over the course of the season. This is part of the criticism of Chengdu Hunters keeping Jinmu over a Predator, because a Predator could just be your hit scan and Leave can just play all of Jinmu's heroes from previously, right? But now Leave has to kind of be mainly the hit scan as well as some flex, and Jinmu, well, he needs to broaden his horizons to stuff like the Echo to be, I think, truly valuable.
Well, we'll have to keep our eyes trained on him. We didn't have to see too much else from this team in pretty much across all of the roles. I think Leave probably showed the most flexibility out of anybody on the side of the Chengdu Hunters in their first series just yesterday. But we already know how deep his pool goes. But we'll keep an eye on everybody else and see how flexible they can be as we continue onward. Now, we'll go ahead and take a look at the map set. As we already stated, Ilios will be coming up first. Then we'll go into Eichenwald as well as Route 66. And if this is as close and as good of a series as we are anticipating, there's a very strong chance that we'll get to see New Queen Street and Lijiang Tower. We'll have to just wait and see on that. But for now, let's go ahead and kick things off as we jump into our first map.
If you're a Chengdu fan, you better believe in the rookies here as well, because it is very likely you're going to be seeing Dynasty across the board for every single map today, except maybe Lijiang Tower Gaga comes in to play some of that Winston, maybe even the Ryan on the control center. But the other 4 maps of the pool, pretty damn good for the Zarya. Dynasty, the Zarya player. Chengdu picked him up for a reason. Luke, the GM, says, we felt it was more important to round out Gaga's heroes that he didn't play rather than keep a Predator on the team. So this is the person that's here instead of a Predator in many ways. It's got to work for them right now. Smurf's also going to come through on towards the Zarya. We are going to be seeing the Zarya mirror straight off the bat. Fits on an Ashe, so that question gets answered as well in terms of what hit scan will he be playing. Jinmu on the Echo. So here we go. What I asked for, let's see if it's good.
Okay. Prophet versus Jinmu in the skies. Let's see who's going to be able to pilot this to success. And oh boy, you thought we were starting? Not quite yet, it would seem.
You
we'll
thought
have a pause called.
Look at the comps.
Off the rip. Well, we will.
Complete mirror.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a complete mirror. I was going to just mention it's a complete mirror both sides. You have Ashes on both ends as well. Leave obviously debuted the Ashe for Chengdu in their matchup versus the Guangzhou Charge, and we had that kind of interesting conversation. It was like, well, if Leave plays it, doesn't mean it's good. Well, Shy certainly made it look good, so certainly the APAC side of things on the Eastern Division, they're trying to make the Ashe work, and if both players are playing it on both ends, then, I mean, they're kind of justifying it for each other, right? Because no one's going to be diffing anybody else in the Soldier versus Ashe. It'll just be Ashe versus Ashe. It does put a lot of pressure on our respective Echo players, who are both pocketed as well, so that's quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think I saw players on either side saying that they're ready, so we should be getting back into this momentarily. So far, nothing really happening, just a little bit of damage coming out onto Fitz and Prophet. And yes, it looks like we will be unpausing this momentarily, so do apologize. But we had to just stop you up for a moment. You couldn't let you guys get too excited, but here we go back into the action now. Prophet will take to this guy yet again, just poking and prodding, seeing where he can find some additional damage. Fitz going to be lobbing the dynamite right around the corner. Going to be finding Dicey with that, though. And takes quite a bit of damage in response as he starts burning down. Pocket healing will come out from Vindame. Go ahead and top him back up.
And Fitz famously last year, he had that gigantic game on the Ashe and the Pulse, so let's see if his damage can keep up this time as well. Opening kill comes onto Prophet, who won't be able to get rezzed either, so Vindame in a lot of trouble. It's a fight win for Chengdu.
Yep, absolutely is. Smurf taken down. The beam won't find the kill, but Dicey will. And Creative will fall at the very end there. Leaf getting up close and personal with him, finishes him off. Initial cap is there for the side of the Chengdu Hunters, and they're now putting 15% on the board.
Yeah, just diving straight into that Prophet duo, right? Or Prophet and Vindame duo in the skies there. Jimmu leading the way now. Our first real look at the Jimmu Echo. Again, didn't get to see this at all last year. And Leave snipes Prophet out. This time he will get rezzed.
Yep, puts him back into the fight. Still playing around this similar sightline, though. He needs to, of course, show respect to Leave. Be forced back onto the side proper rather than playing over towards the Dynasty spawn. See if Fitz look for a bit of an aim duel here. Spot each other out. Leave will just move back up to the high ground. But, I mean, after that initial skirmish, one of the biggest takeaways here is going to be Jinwoo's ult charge Leaves as well compared to the Prophet's duo. Literally more than doubling him right now is Jinwoo.
Yep.
So we'll have that duplicate up here rather soon. Prophet gonna find a kill. Dicey goes down, but they will trade it out. One of the supports is going to fall here on the side of this old Dynasty. That's gonna force the res. Prophet finds Nisha now. The res comes in onto Dicey, so merciless for either side. Jinwoo gonna go for the duplicate, copies the Ana. He's gonna try to maybe get a nano boost, throw that on Dicey and keep him alive in the front lines. Hasn't managed to make it happen yet. Monk instead is gonna be the one who throws out the nano boost. On the back of that, manages to get a kill. A Smurf will fall. Rez obviously still not going to be available. Now Fitz is going to be taken out of the fight, and it seems like the Chengdu Hunters will be able to hold this point.
Not that Jimmu needs it, but he, just barely lost out in the duplicate form at 99% towards the Nano. The Nano was already given to Dicey by Monk anyway, so they have to win the fight off of that one. Smurf will be first up for the Graviton Surge. We'll see where he drops that one. This will be final fight for the Seoul Dynasty if they can't quite win it. Prophet looking for lead, but pushed out.
Falls so very low, but will finally manage to get the beam through, gets that elimination onto Jinwoo, and it's not going to be visible, at least not for the moment. Now they have to take their pick between him and Leave. Seems like Dynasty should just about be able to get this flip coming through, as the duplicate will get broken, and with Monk falling off screen, that will confirm the flip. So now on board here for Dynasty, but they have to win every single fight from here on out. There's a grab still available for Dicey.
And Chengdu make a, 2 versus 3 ultimate trade there, so they come up with 1+ ultimate. They do still have to fight up against Fitz's Bob, but if they can just sleep that one via Monk, they should be okay. I assume Fitz will probably put that one on point somewhere to contest. At least make sure they have something contesting for what will be Chengdu going for a one-and-done type of push here. What can we get on the grab there? Expectations would probably be that Dicey goes for solo onto Smurf. Ideally, Fitz. They keep the Bionade, but the Bionade's been burnt, but they do get a kill, so should be okay. They bait the res anyway.
Push that out. Fitz already getting tagged down low. He's going to throw the bomb out over onto the point. And see Jinwoo getting up into his face, trying to just put him right back into the dirt. Hasn't managed to make it happen yet, but it will be a trade out on the Zaryas. Team's losing their front line. The grab not leading to too much here for the side of the Chengdu Hunters. We'll have to reset and go again as Dicey starts making his way back over here towards the point. Anti goes out onto 2. Fitz and him both getting caught by that. We'll be able to just pull back around the cap. But in the meantime, they force them off the point, and that is the cap. Narrowly touch back in, get that OT rolling yet again. Monk gonna go down, but Prophet traded out. Leaf coming around the flank, he's looking for the shots, but a quick corner peek and Creative puts Leaf down on the floor. They get the ante, he takes the shotgun blast out, creates some distance, and will end up getting killed again as he peeks back out onto the point. But no advice there, likely should have tried to retreat, but plays a little bit greedily, gets punished for it. 60% now gonna be on the board here for the side of the Seoul Dynasty. It's just them cleaning up a couple extra kills here onto the members of Chengdu, trying to get as much stagger as they can possibly get.
Yeah, it's Chengdu kind of struggling to get members to keep members in play here, where Monk initially falls down very close to the Nano. Nisha went for that res, right, but Monk couldn't quite get the Nano boost in time, so Leave left out to dry. I mean, Byronay from Creative kept them low anyway. You're right, you probably shouldn't have re-picked that one. If they could keep Leave alive and then have Dicey receive Nano to keep things up in the front lines as well, could be pretty impressive. But we're heading towards 99-99 now. A lot of ults coming online for the Seoul Dynasty, so they're in position to take away this first round if they can get all these ultimates up, and there's 3 coming in very soon.
Gonna finish building those up. It's gonna have that Bob the grab there as well. Bob first gonna come out now to the side of Lee.
Oh.
Sends that one in. Profit gonna be taking a nap as the Nano comes down. Now they get the ante down on him. The bubble comes in. He's got 9 HP, and he somehow makes it out alive for a little bit longer. But Jinmu manages to pursue, gets that kill in the end. Fitz just taking the shotgun blast, putting Leaves Bob down into the pit, it would seem. But Chengdu Hunters are widely coming out on top. The 99-99, but the OT is bleeding down. Creative cannot contest this point, and no one is going to be able to get there in time to touch again. So narrow margins here. It is the Chengdu Hunters walking away with this first round win on Ilios.
I mean, what a play by Monk. That completely sets Chengdu up for success. Sleep dart onto Prophet. Tries to save him, Creative pops the Nano onto Prophet, but the Byronay coming through from Monk as well to secure it. Then obviously we have Jinmu chasing for that kill to make sure Prophet doesn't just run away on 9 HP. That really was everything Chengdu needed. Then they just got to get past the Bob of Fitz, and the rest is history. So Chengdu Hunters, good play to get rid of the carry from the side of the Seoul Dynasty, give themselves a very important leg up. And into a 99-99 battle, Chengdu come out ahead, but close affair. Have to give it to the Seoul Dynasty. They pushed that one definitely to the brink. Heading into round number 2 for Ruins. Fitz looking like he wants to come out on towards a Sombra first. Again, I'm not a personal fan of this one, but might be able to put some pressure on the Leave, who is sniping.
See what he can get done. Leave, though, with the Widowmaker, always a very terrifying prospect to try to deal with. Jinmu's just going to be shifting back over onto the Genji, which he's been showing a decent little bit of. So plenty of it just yesterday in their initial series.
There you go. Looking for Leave.
And overall, looked quite good.
Fitz is setting up for this one. I don't know if he'll be able to get a complete one-shot here. Leave certainly won't be able to hookshot away. Leave has no idea. They don't even know that Fitz is playing Sombra yet, I don't think.
Seems like maybe not. Byronay big. Almost leads to the death of Vinheim. Doesn't manage really to find it. It's not getting too much harassment down there. Is Jinmu going to fall? But Leave does find Smurf. Now, Dicey getting on top of Creative, it seems like this should just be a pretty fast flip here in favor of the Seoul Dynasty. They do manage to capitalize, though, getting piled in on top of Leave. They find that elimination, getting rid of the Widowmaker, and still holding the point for now as he pushes back up. Fitz taking the hacks out where possible. Finds Nisha, but it's going to lead to too much, and now with him getting taken down, the flip will come through. Only 28% established here, first and foremost, for the side of the Seoul Dynasty.
I gotta highlight Monk again here. He's almost doubled Creative's ult charge so far. He's been hitting sleep darts. He hit one to Fitz just a little bit earlier. He hit a massive Byronay that almost got Vinheim down. If they actually killed Vinheim, that would have been first fight secured for Chengdu Hunters, no doubt. So Nano available. Should be going to Dicey pretty soon, but leaves 1 HP as well.
Oh, Fitz, yeah, found him. Gets that elimination. Again, that opens up so much space, and without the mercies here, they cannot bring him back into the fight. The sound barrier comes into response of the Graviton searching from Dicey. Prophet manages to get in on top of Monk, gets Jinmu as well. 2 kills for the Reaper, making a third as Dynasty with a sliver of HP will fall even to a shotgun blast at distance. And the Dynasty will take control back into their hands, and they will retake the lead.
Leaves lose a bit of a confidence on the Widowmaker pick there, is also getting bullied by both Fitz and Vinheim, so moving towards the Soldier. Soldier Genji, pretty typical in this type of meta, so Sound Barrier plus Blade coming in. Are they going to beat Blade? This one will be the question mark. Soul likely want to go in first, so because EMP is available. Here comes Fitz in the back line. Should be the EMP played about now. They've waited.
Blade coming out from Jinmu. Sleep Dart, I believe, not connecting there from Creative. He's going to be the first target. Tries to keep himself alive. Does get the anti out of Jinmu, but he's got the sound barrier shield there to keep him protected, so they cannot peel it. Grab comes in from Smurf, but there's no one really there to capitalize. Prophet was taken down first. Can't play off the back of it. Again, fairly fast flip, 66% here for the side of Dynasty, but it's 26% away now for Chengdu to take the lead.
I find it very difficult to explain what on earth Seoul are trying to do with the Sombra here, because you see Fitz into the back line. We have that overhead view. You're playing a Sombra, that means you need to engage first. You have an EMP, you want to be making use of this as a damage tool, because it's not an actual silent CC tool, and it's a damage tool, right? They're not engaging with it. Fitz was right there. They waited so long. Jinmu pulled the trigger first, and Chengdu won. We're still waiting for this EMP.
Okay, EMP does come out, manages to find 3. Monk going to fall. Wasn't even one of the targets caught by it, but he's still managed to find that pick. Nisha, though, takes out Profit, so Death Blossom not going to be in this fight. Flip had come through, though. They play a little bit of ring around the Rosie. Smurf managing to beam it down. Dicey sends it the right click. He will just be cleaning up house. Huge plays here from Smurf as they maintain control of this point. They're getting closer to that 99%.
Yeah, the first kill coming through, I believe, onto Monk was pretty impressive there. EMP actually didn't hit Monk, but it doesn't matter, so they get rid of the support and the other 3 DPSs plus the tank. Not able to do too much there as Smurf goes on his 3K. Final fight territory, almost at the 99% mark. Sound Barrier plus Death Blossom should be a lock for Seoul.
Falling low, they're chasing forward. Ash on the Nisha, sorry. As Leaf falling low, receives the nano boost, now has the attack visor available. Profit turns the drum in on top of them with that Death Blossom. Will find one before he gets taken down. And Smurf again is the one who's coming up with the kills for the side of the Dynasty. Overtime ticking away, no one can touch. This time a little bit less one-sided. There's still plenty of back and forth though, but the Dynasty will take us to a final round on Lighthouse.
And to really put things into perspective as well, Smurf had a ton of kills there, right? A lot of final blows. Only had 25 average energy, so was doing that on fairly low energy for the most part. I mean, every time we looked at him, I think he was maybe hovering around the 50-60 mark. Never really saw him above 70. Hard to build up, I think, some of the energy here for Smurf in this kind of matchup here. You know, you'd probably have to try and put it onto Profit as much as you can to have this Reaper dive in, but otherwise, Smurf kind of outperforming what his energy would probably dictate he should be able to do. It's going to allow us now to move on to the third and final round here for Lighthouse. Smurf on towards a Diva, so I mean a killer. So we're kind of getting into a very early Smurf tank roulette already. I'm not a big fan of Diva in this meta so far. Praying for Seoul that they can work this one out.
Let's see. Is Profit just going to be shifting over onto the Tracer? Fits there with the Soldier 76. Offer up a good amount of damage there onto Jinmu, but leave back over onto the Ashe. Very much demands respect. So far has been one of the few, he and Shy, pretty much the two, that have really made the Ashe look quite viable. Chengdu, though, in position, first onto the point, looking for the cap. The contest now starting to come through, and Jinmu, woo, falls so very low there. Pocket healing arrives just in time for Nisha to keep him in the fight. Dicey, however, will be pressured out. Profit finds that elimination. That might just be enough to deny this cap, and it seems like it will be. Dynasty now occupying the point, looking to get first on the board yet again.
Good pocketing by Smurf there with the Matrix to keep teammates alive, so Jinmu can't quite get the assassinations. Profit now going large. No Tracer to contest. I'd like to see Leave maybe come back on a Tracer to contest Profit properly. But this fight is definitely going one way only. Seoul have the cap, they have the kills, they got everything.
Yeah, and it's again Smurf who's just managing to get these last hits in it at the very least, but coming up with multiple kills in the fight. That's going to force a bit of a swap here as Nisha's going to move over to the Brigitte. Seems like Jinmu's still going to be sticking with the Echo despite not having that pocket healing any longer.
We'll have to rely on
somewhat self-sufficient.
We'll have to rely on that long-range Brig healing, you know, with the little health pack she throws. Echo duplicate nearly online though, importantly.
Profit dropping down, spots the majority of the team, has to do a quick little dash away, doesn't have that pulse bomb yet. Would have been a juicy opportunity for him to get a multi-kill if he did. Leaf, though, going to be the first one to fall on the approach. The pulse bomb's going to go a little bit wide, does not get that kill. Jinmu, in the meantime, bombs of his own, sticks in on a creative, gets the elimination. He's got the duplicate available, comes around the side, he's going to be looking to take Smurf out of the mech. He's low, but hasn't got that elimination yet. It seems like they will not find it at all as he ends up dying. It's just Dicey now trying to play forward on the point. Pushing up, trying to get this elimination on the Vindheim. Profit gets the reloads in, though, and Smurf just comes in, barreling him over to get the elimination.
Smurf on 1 HP the whole fight, but they can't quite take him down. I mean, that's rough for Chengdu, no DMAC. And a lot of players close to ults. Monk only just gets the nano. Jinmu, I guess, didn't feel like popping the duplicate at all. Dicey and Leaf not quite there either. It's too late for Leaf to change now because he's very close to Bob. That initial kill on the Fitz is super valuable for turning this one. So they have a 5v4, but look how many ultimates are still online for the Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, but there's still going to be just as many about to be up here on the side of the Chengdu Hunters. The bomb not too far off there for Leaf. If he can just get a couple taps in, we'll have that to help contest this point. Rally rolling out with him. Whip shot goes out, just trying to push Jinmu away. Still holds on to that duplicate so far. And like you said, goes out onto Nisha. They managed to keep him alive, but has to grab his used Fitz. Pops that tack visor, comes up with two. He's looking for a little bit more, but now he's going to hit the ground. The sleep comes in from Monk, the anti as well, and the bomb is there to finish the job. They get the kills through. The flip comes in, but it's 99% established early on here for the side of Seoul Dynasty.
Jinmu swapping over towards duplicating obviously towards the Ana this time, getting a kill with that Bayonet as well. So dropping in the extra heals plus huge bio swing. Fitz comes back into the fight. I do have to say Chengdu played that one far too slowly, considering they got an initial pickup on Fitz, and he still managed to come back and affect that fight. That can't really be happening. I know it's a soldier that can run, but he can still play a little bit faster than that. Seoul already on to cap. Chengdu forced to respond.
Yep, they make their way. They get the inside track here. Trying to retreat and get back in with the rest of the team, but Prophet just says no. Hounds him down, got rid of Nisha moments before. Jinmu can't break line of sight fast enough. The flip is coming in, and they are running low on people who can try to contest this point. They're unideal targets at the same time. Leaf gonna fall. Monk, the only one who could have done it, cannot do it, is stuck on the high ground. And Seoul Dynasty, after a bit of a rocky start on well, managed to take this final round of Ilios rather cleanly. They kicked things off in this series with a map win.
And you see Smurf towards the end there, coming back on the Zarya as well, builds up 33% ult charge. It's pacing from Seoul Dynasty, much more impressive, especially on that Lighthouse. You look at the Chengdu Hunters instead, you have Leave stuck on towards this Ashe. I mean, it's okay at the beginning when you can maybe set up some ground, you want to play a slightly slower game, but there comes a point where Prophet is decimating your backline, doing so much as a Tracer. Leave has no response to that. He needs to jump on his own Tracer to deal with that and put some more pressure back on towards Seoul, because otherwise, Chengdu, I feel like their front line just wasn't able to have that same level of punch.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if Chengdu Hunters want to make any adjustments, maybe have Gaga come back in for the second map, or if we will stick with Daisy. I have to say that, he was the issue by any stretch here. I think that Dynasty just overall came alive, and Smurf really reminded us the caliber of player that he can be even when he's not on the Winston. It was a much better showing from him off the rip here in this first map, but there should be still plenty of play to happen. We have map 2 coming up here in just a few minutes. That's going to be Eichenwald, so don't go anywhere. Alrighty, welcome back, guys. We're just about to go into map number 2 here in our second series of the day. I was going to say our first series of the day. I'm like, wait, no. We came in after Vicky and Trid, so getting my days mixed up here, getting my matches mixed up, but it doesn't matter, because I'm aware of what's going on. We are going into our second map, Eichenwald coming up here, as we have a lead from Seoul Dynasty so far. They take Ilios, they're up 1-0, and Chengdu Hunters are going to be looking to clap back.
Chengdu as well, again, I'll just, repeat one last point from that last map. I really want to see Lee maybe look at that Tracer one more time. The Ash is still not quite tickling my fancy. Not on a fast-paced map like Lighthouse. We're heading to Eichenwald, and now you were questioning maybe, could we see Gaga back in? I still think we're going to get Daisy for the next 3 maps if it goes that far, so obviously leading 1-0 so far. But yeah, New Queen Street, Route 66, Eichenwald, they're probably all Zarya maps for the Chengdu Hunters until we get the Lijiang Tower. So nothing going to change on that regard. I'll be interested to see what Jinmu maybe pulls out this time around. Is it going to be Genji? Is it going to be the Echo? Traditionally, Pharah has been played on A as well, but pretty heavy hit scan meta unlike last year, so it's probably harder for Jinmu to get value on that Pharah. Leave will most likely be, if I was to guess, start on the Ashe again, because that's been kind of like, the Eastern Division APAC special to play Ashe on the A defense.
All right. So yeah, May coming through. Leave thinking about what he wants to do. And seems like it's just going to land on the Soldier 76 here at the end.
Good man.
It's just going to be likely going for a pop shot.
He made the right call.
5-5 all time.
Jinmu, on the other hand, is the May real? I mean, they're kind of running out of time. I guess it's a real May. Well,
if it's not real, then he's trolling in the spawn room.
It's the Jinmu Mystery Hero Special Achilles. Jinmu with a May in a composition that otherwise doesn't make a lot of sense to have a May in at all. No idea why he's done this. Jinmu, please explain.
Well, this is clearly the classic maneuver where somebody comes through main and then you put the wall up and you kill him.
Ah,
it's obvious,
one of those
really,
strategies
when you just think about it.
I see.
But hey, he heard you talking about having to diversify the hero pool here, and so he's like, okay, I'll just bring out the main. Take that, Avril. Talk about my depth. Goes into the ice block early on here after taking a bit of a beating. The bounty's absolutely massive, though, for Monk, and that's going to set up for a nice little cleanup. Smurf will find Nisha. So now is going to be taking a little nap here. I don't have another bio to try to kill him off, but Leave has got the accuracy to snipe him out of the sky.
First of all, speaking of ice, how deep does the Jinmu iceberg go? That's a big question. Second of all, I think the strategy here for Jinmu is he's here to confuse the other team. So Seoul's like, I've never played up against a Mei, Zarya, Soldier comp before. I don't even know what that means. And Seoul are now like really confused. That's the mind games that Jinmu's doing. Very smart. I appreciate that. So anyway, Monk outpacing. Oh, there we go. That's actually a decent headshot. Could have done that on just about any other hero, but...
Trying to slow down the legs. Got the ice block, though. Stay safe. Deflect now going to be forced out. He's looking for target. Knows exactly where Prophet's going. Push up on the opposite side, though. Will manage to stay alive, but the rest of the team can't really say the same here. Even Smurf is going to have to take a leap back over towards the spawn room. And, so far, this is pretty brutal for Dynasty, and they're struggling to deal with it. Half the time is already bled away.
In some ways, if Jinmu plays the Mei like a pseudo Reaper, like an icy Reaper, you can just get in Smurf's face, right, put him a decent amount of damage right in front of him, same as a Reaper would be doing. Also coming online now, but they're pretty much all coming online for the side of Chengdu. We'll see if Creative will save this Nano for Prophet. He's pretty close to the Nano Blade. That will be the big tool. Nisha doesn't quite have the sound barrier either, so the timing is great for Seoul in that regard.
Okay, well, there's the Blizzard going to be thrown down there looking for Smurf. The ante again is going to be massive. Catches Smurf, catches Prophet. Takes him low, but they can't confirm the kills off the back of it. But Jinmu will just push out over top of the little walkway here. Gets a headshot, drops down aggressively. Says, you know what, I've got a wall, I've got my ice block, and he just hounds down Fitz. And they just seemingly can do nothing against this composition. Smurf has popped the Primal Rage. They've already lost their Soldier 76. They don't have anybody to offer up any extra damage.
Why are Seoul committing?
He's going to land on this high ground.
They got like players respawning, but they're still committing. Smurf has no primal on. They have to back out anyway. They've already used the bubble. But as Smurf goes out, Prophet goes in. This is not coordinated.
Yep, Nisha just pushes him away. Prophet will manage to find one. Finally carves through. That sound barrier shielding there. Gets a kill on to leave, so high priority target. But can they get more off the back end? The grab is going to come through. Vinham now forced to use his own sound barrier. Attack visor out from Fitz. Instantly gets annihilated as Monk throws down the bio nade, and Dicey is there to finish the job. Looking for a little bit more. Hovering at about 60 energy at the moment. Smurf is in no man's land away from the rest of his team. Bio does come through, boosts up that healing. They manage to keep him alive. As Prophet now has to make his exit, but they barely set foot on this point. They have not gotten any ticks, no progression whatsoever. And Jinmu will die crucially before his next blizzard is online. They're starting to take up now. Prophet up into their faces, trying to take away this high ground here from the side of the Chengdu Hunters, but now the visor comes in from Leaf. He's searching for a target, tries to get around the corner there to get Vinham. He takes him low, but Fitz strikes back. Gets another kill on top of that as Monk will also fall. Ticks now coming through. They've got about 2.5 so far, but still need to finish the job, and they only have 14 seconds plus some overtime to do so. The blizzard comes in from Jinmu. Nisha has gone down. They continue to find these critical picks. Jinmu is dead upon re-arrival. They will finally get this cap, but it's nearly a full hold, and it's only 2.5 minutes to try to take the cart to B.
I was going to say, Jinmu needs to go towards at least a Reaper here. I could understand if you want a front line, you want to use some Zarya bubbles, but Reaper literally does what Mei does better in this type of meta so far. And also on B, you need the high ground, low ground play with the verticality. A Reaper can do that for y'all, except the Genji. Something that Lee probably should have could have done on that last fight was not dive so hard with the visor. He's so desperate for kills, and well, now Fitz has the angle on him. If Lee just kind of played that one more defensively, zoned the tactical visor, waited for Jinmu, they could have had the blizzard out and maybe won a team fight off that. But they're getting the first frags now, so maybe they can recover.
I mean, he's talking about diving a little bit too aggressively there. Fitz was doing just the same, but now they've scattered so much they can't get back onto the high ground as easily. They get rerouted and then get picked off as Smurf and Vinham come up with some kills. We'll finish off Dynasty, and this is a considerable amount of space now bought for the side of the Seoul Dynasty. Smurf just looking to play above the left exit here.
I mean, we're already on the bridge. This is an insane amount of movement so far in terms of objective. Chengdu haven't really been able to set up for any sort of fights. They definitely haven't stopped the payload. It's been free pushing most of the way through. We're already on the last fight for B. Waiting for these ultimates. They might just have to beat it up. They've already lost Monk.
Monk's dead. Yeah, Nisha going to be too late with that beam. Still gets everybody else with the barrier, but now the blade comes in off the back end. Grab does come down. Prophet narrowly surviving. Vinham really timing that perfectly. Manages to keep him alive. Topped up, the values are now rolling for Fitz as well, just looking to contain everybody back inside of the castle. And the cart now just a meter away as they get that final cleanup kill on to leave. They will manage to make the push happen. I don't know how, but 2.5 minutes. Seoul Dynasty are just absolutely surging after a near catastrophic, near full hold.
Yeah, I mean, well, it all comes back down to Jinmu dying on 97. And Chengdu not able to hold long enough for Jinmu to get back, and this entire B phase so far has just been a wash. Chengdu have not been present. It's been free pushing the whole way. Really, this payload just hasn't stopped moving. Leave with another visor available. Should be a nano visor coming on through. Chengdu need to pull the trigger early this time. Take control of that payload. Not have Monk go down early.
Could be the blade as well. Jinmu nearly has to, but now they will go for the visor. Leaf starting the charge forward. Jinmu there right alongside him is going to be the one put up with the majority of the kills here. Now they'll tie it up at 2-2. And we'll finally shut down this push from the side of the Seoul Dynasty. Prophet trying to make his exit, makes it back into the spawn room just in time. Now 1 minute and 35 seconds remaining. The question becomes, Dynasty, can they continue this near miracle run and make it to the end of Eichenfeld?
Well, they are in a rebuilding phase for their economy, right? Because they've run out of ultimates minus the Primal Rage, which you really want to be using as late as possible towards the final fight. A Dicey kill is unreal. That was a brilliant bubble from Smurf.
Oh, but Jinmu with the blade out quickly comes up with 2 in response. So spares the blushes there of Dicey. Allows him to respawn, join back in as they control the game.
I guess again, the economy is starting to swing in the way of the Seoul Dynasty. It's a rebuilding phase for them every single time. Chengdu wants to win a fight. They've had to expend an ultimate, and right now, they haven't built anything else. Vindame's also ahead of Nisha by just a tiny margin. So when Seoul actually set up for this next fight, it might end up being in the OT, but The goal is to cap here. Even if it is an OT, they're building up towards a win condition. Smurf has popped Primal very early, though.
Oh, he has. Yeah, he's looking for a pick here on a leave. Looks like he might just find it. Takes him dangerously low. The biotic field does come down, keeps him alive a little bit longer. Now Smurf needs to make his exit. He's got the bubble to cover himself. In the meantime, 3 people have gone down on the side of Chengdu Hunters. Nisha was too busy just peeling for Leaf, trying to keep him alive. That everybody else fell to the wayside and was forgotten. Cart now rolling up, getting ready to round the final corner and approach the throne. Sound barrier, nano boost, a blade, and nearly a visor online for the Seoul Dynasty. All the tools that they need. Nisha, though, needs to keep everybody alive. He cannot afford to miss by a second with this sound barrier. If anyone goes down, that very well could be the end of it here. Blade now coming out for Profit. The barrier going to be used. He's getting up into Leave's face. Shoves him back into the spawn room. Dashes through. Finds Nisha. Grab comes in from Dicey, but I think it might just be too late. Leave will still be good for 1, but Fitz with attack visor takes down the main tank. The bio nade will get Leave, and the cleanup is there. And after nearly getting full health by Chinmu's Mei, somehow, some way, with limited time in the bank, the Seoul Dynasty do push to the finish.
I just think it's good macro being shown by Seoul, you know, after moving through A, getting specific picks that were really good as well, and Chengdu just in this sunk cost fallacy, throwing more and more ultimates into the wildfire and getting nothing out of it, completely ruining their B defense economy right there. Nothing to work through, huge snowball coming through from Seoul. You have to kind of re-watch that entire B phase again, where Seoul did not have any payload pushing impeded. It was just moving through freely. Seoul had all the space control. They only won 2 fights on B to cap the entire thing. C took a bit longer, but they were building up for win conditions. So, you know, I think the macro strategy from what I could see in terms of where they were aiming towards the end there, bleed out the Chengdu ultimates, build up your own critical mass of ultimates, go for the one and done fight. Is it going to have to be an OT? It will be, but you're going to get the cap, and that's important.
All right, well, now let's see how they fare. Swapping sides and whether or not they can give the Chengdu Hunters just as much, or even close to as much of trouble as they received from them. There's no funny business here, despite how many issues it gave them. Prophet saying, you know what, I had plenty of time playing Mei last season. Didn't go so well for me, so I don't think I'm going to play it here in 2022 either, at least not yet.
And if you are going to play Mei, then you should ask yourself why you're not just playing Reaper instead. Even Jinmu answered that question.
What does my life become?
Because Jinmu at the end of the C defense was like, I might as well go Reaper. I'm like, good job. I'll give you a bit of a golf clap for that one. He's coming out the Reaper now. Reaper, Echo, plus Zarya. I dig it. Leave on the Echo, one of his best heroes historically. Pocketed as well by Nisha.
Currently a dangerous duo. Smurf pushing up, taken low. Finally does not connect onto him though, so they can't try to go for the total kill with the beam. Just hunting around. Here comes the flank now. Fitz and Vinham trying to pinch them from the back. Managed to make it happen. Smurf falls low. The beam coming through.
He's
narrowly
alive.
Misses him. He does manage to escape. He is alive, but Creative has gone down. Vinham now going to fall as well as he dove right in front of those sticky bombs, and that's enough to break through. The point is capped already, and it's over 5.5 minutes here for Chengdu Hunters.
Wow, good aggression being shown there again. Monk just heavily outpacing Creative. I don't know what it is about these early fights, man, but Monk is just doing an insane amount of damage and healing. Nearly has a nano that will allow them to very much snowball through B, and they're going to need to do that because Seoul snowballed B so effectively. Jinmu's already quite deep. They're looking for high ground control here.
Just trying to get this duplicate up. 15% away from that. So far, Fitz hasn't gotten too clean of a line of sight on him, so can't really try to threaten him out of the sky, nor onto Nisha. Just continue to play very intelligently here around these ramparts. Gets in on top of Creative. The Bionic comes in. That will make him survive the beam damage, but Jinmu collapses as well. Will get the Ana here in the end. Vinham in a bit of a rough spot.
Pushing.
Gonna have to take that low ground exit. Get his way out and back in with the rest of the team as they wait for Creative to rejoin.
Yeah, there's a big problem with this fight, though. They might be slowly winning it, and even now it's gone back even, right? But they haven't been pushing the payload at all, which means they're stuck to, at the start. They're back to where they began here. They spent ultimates, and they try to look for positioning. Fitz now coming through with the nanovice, just cleaning things up.
Yep, I mean, it seems like they weren't quite ready for him to just drop off the top row, but the bio nade comes out, manages to find 4. We'll get a singular kill off the back of that. Maybe could have been a little bit more, but Jinmu unable to profit from it too much, and now he's just going to get bullied into the respawn room again, it would seem. As, yeah, there you go. Have to go for the reset. So that's a minute and a half plus bled away now from the time bank, but still a hell of a lot to work with here for Chengdu. And we saw what you can do with very little time in Seoul's attack. So
they have time. They all have ultimates coming up online, but yeah, the payload positioning is just dreadful, sadly. It made no movements at all. Graviton Surge will be the important ultimate here for Dynasty. Not going to be able to catch too much. Ideally, they get Smurf inside, maybe put a Bionade on top of him, and that would be a pretty decent ultimate. Smurf might even be delivering himself. That bubble's gone now, so an opening for Dynasty to get this charge and go for play.
Doesn't have it. Was trying to completely cut off Chengdu Hunters as they were making their way into the castle. So it just takes a little bit of damage. There's Creative, nearly picked off again. Yeah, they fully swapped sides. They got a couple contesting here up top. Smurf now going to pop. That primal raise, the sound barrier has to be used just to keep him alive. He's still falling so very low, and Leave will get him in midair. Prophet as well going to fall as Monk will find a solo kill there onto the Tracer. Vinham going to get a little bit of revenge here, it would seem. Doubles down, gets Leave as well. Bloodthirsty support's coming through, but Jinmu just says, screw it, I'll drop the Blossom. Takes out Creative, and Vinham says, well, that's my cue to leave. Goes ahead, jets out, but again, the cart in all of this time, not moving.
And Prophet's back to stall further. I mean, Vindame baiting out the sound barrier, Jinmu even pulling the trigger on that. Seems like a bit of overkill. They're so desperate just to make any sort of control of the payload. Look at me, another minute's gone, and they pushed like 10 meters at best. And now the rest of Seoul return with their own visor. Should be a nano visor as well. Fits with high ground positioning. This is a pretty good place for Seoul to be in currently.
Prophet getting to the back. Jinmu down to half HP. He's going to force one of these bubbles, and now they're just charging down the stairwell, and Fitz gets 3 with the Helix Rocket, the Pulse Bomb as well. Oh my goodness, everybody just gets absolutely nuked in the hallway.
And that's the thing, Chengdu, they're not able to set themselves up into a position where they can cleanly, you know, get any sort of hold towards the spawn. When I say spawn, I mean the kind of C point castle entry, you know, where a lot of teams would be. Once you get the payload up towards the bridge, you can start pushing up further. Force Fitz to maybe use the visor super early as well. The fact that they gave Fitz high ground control, man, Chengdu can't be doing that. They're even using sound barrier just to gain entry. Look at that, Soul disengage. That's not going to be a wasted sound barrier. This macro from Chengdu has just been so unclean today.
Yeah, I mean, they popped the sound barrier just to keep Monk alive. He nearly got picked, and they say, no, we need you in the fight, but they might lose him all the same, and they will. Prophet gets in on top after that Bionade connects. They get the kill, but Leave is trying to make up for it here. Comes up with 3 now with Attack Visor. Will get a 4th as it expires, so massive moves here from Leave. Knows that they're in a dire spot and needs to put the team on his back, and that is going to be good enough to get this cap here on beat at long last. But it's with much less time than you might have anticipated. Old Dynasty have been gumming up the works for them, really slowing their roll considerably. Now it's just 2.5 minutes to try to finish the map.
It's a big rebuilding phase though. Again, it costs a lot of ultimates. They once more use sound barrier to get to the castle. To be fair, it did get Leave positioning on top. Sleep now lands on top of Leave, and this is Seoul walking on in. They have the first ultimates to play through, Prophet with the pulse as well. Be looking for that this fight.
I mean, Smurf has just got everybody in the corner. He is juggling this beautifully for a little bit more there. Quite get Nisha, but Prophet does, and there is the team kill cleanup. Already 30 seconds of that time bank bled away, and it just takes the primal for it.
Grav coming up next will be countered by Vindame sound barrier. Maybe get some reasonable push happening with the Jinmu Reaper plus Bubbles just walking on up. The fact that Fitz is a flank here is pretty insane though. The Chengdu can maybe just push into castle and outpace this one, but they haven't spotted Fitz, and Fitz has arrived.
Oh, well, okay.
And he's gone.
Liba, he takes the Helix Rockets early, but then he just turns around and kills Fitz. Smurf has gone down, as his Prophet. Now Creative is dead as well, and they can finally start getting some distance on this cart. They will be able to get it right just about to the final corner.
They played that one a little bit risky, you know? Seoul Dynasty wanted to make an aggressive move there. I don't even think it was trolling. I think it was a viable risk. It's just that Fitz, you know, it didn't end up getting that initial pick. And then they didn't want to throw in a bunch of ultimates into a losing fight, but they'll have the ultimates now. Chengdu have actually, off the back of winning that fight, built up a bunch of their own. So this is going to be a big fight now. Chengdu nearly on 5 ults, actually.
Jinmu very low, but still pushes the corner. Will find Creative yet again with that Death Blossom. Fitz will get Nisha in exchange as he pops the Attack Visor and comes up with 3 kills himself. He says, look, Leave, I can do this too.
Yeah, Nano Visor.
Punish Leave.
Good ultimate combo.
Yeah, Leave. Okay, Leave actually just moves up to the cart. He wants to get a reset in. Knows that he's not going to be able to exit, but he will hound him down. So needs to die quickly. Visor is available. They can nano it up. 4 ults about to be in the bank here at the side of Chengdu. Just a sound barrier for the side of Seoul.
Here's what needs to happen. Vindane can only use the sound barrier to counter either the nanovisor or the grab and not both. That means Chengdu need to make sure they bait out the sound barrier and still have an ultimate remaining to get the final push in.
See if they can do just that. Profit going for a TP. Biotic goes into the back, manages to clip on the 2, but now the sound barrier come out. They are looking and focusing on keeping Leaf alive. He, however, is searching for a target. Takes Fitz low. Creative going to fall. Now Smurf eliminated. Clock is running down. It seems like it will be an OT finish if they can still get it across the board. Fitz, he can't jump down in time to try to contest it. Vindame can't get back. So we will just go ahead and reset a minute apiece in the time banks and see who can go the furthest.
That's rough, because if Seoul actually managed to get the touch, they had members coming back from spawn. They would have had a spawn advantage as well and maybe kind of overpowered a 5vx scenario. Fitz was still unchecked. I mean, no one could actually chase him. Seoul had some high ground control, so they had angles to work with. Just unfortunately, I'll put that one onto the Lucio there because it definitely wasn't going to be Fitz's job to touch. But Vindame just needed to touch slightly, allow for the rest of the members to come back through, and it would have been fine. But maximum value for Vindame's sound barrier there ended up being used to quote-unquote block both the nanovisor and grab. Obviously, we saw the nanovisor damage still be more than enough to get through a couple of members. It's the final fight, though, in the OT. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And, well, with Chengdu having expended all of their ult bank, coming into that final fight, had the touch happen and respawners came through, very possible that Seoul could have held that one. So we're going to go to an OT into a time back instead, where both teams capped an OT, so 1 minute apiece, with Chengdu defending first. And this time, no Jinmu main.
Yeah, I was going to say, considering how good it was the first time out, and they only need to buy a minute, do they just do it again? Seems like the answer is no.
3, 2, 1.
So we'll just go back and stick to some standard practices here with the Reaper and Echo. Profit on the Reaper as well as they start making their way forward.
What's going to be really good is Leave coming through onto the Echo straight away. So this should, hopefully paired with the Jinmu, give them a lot to work through. Smurf going to go towards the Winston, and that, by the way, the swap, and he's still not quite convinced. Back to the Zarya. Seoul very undecided here. So 30 seconds remain. They spent their first 30 seconds of Achilleo scouting and changing heroes, and now they have half the time remaining to get this push in.
Yeah, I mean, if they really wanted to put that much emphasis on scouting, I think you probably just send out the Sombra here, but they do not do so. Now the time is dwindling. They almost get that first tick coming through as the point was uncontested from the side of Chengdu, but they do manage to get in on top of Jinmu. There's the first elimination. That is the first step, but can they take more? Nisha falling low. The bubble comes in from Dicey. He keeps him alive as he tries to play the point alone, but the tick will come through, so now they've got something tangible here in this OT. The question is, how much further can they go? Because there's no one nearby to contest this. Monk, he can't do anything, and yeah, the cap will just come in.
So, 30 seconds of swapping and scouting ends up working in the favor of Seoul Dynasty to at least be extremely sure what they want to play here, which is going to be the Smurf Zarya. They walk up, Smurf does damage, gets kills. They hunt down members. Monk can only look from the high ground in horror as the point gets capped away. Chengdu now sitting up on high ground. They need a moment to collapse, so Chengdu can't just stay on high ground and poke. They have to stop this payload progression, which means ideally, about the next 5 meters, they need to make a move. Dicey's already dropped down, so here we go.
Yeah, Profit around the back. He's looking for Nisha, takes him down about half HP. Drops in. Heals do come across from Monk as they try to keep that Mercy afloat in the sky. Push for the pulse bomb comes down and Leaf just dives on top of it by accident. Nano now going to be used. Throws that onto the Dicey. Jinmu falling low. Will be sustained for now. Valkyrie pops but shut down instantly. Smurf finds the kill on the Nisha and the Tac Visor comes in from Fitz. Picks up 2 kills yet again, and this cart will continue to roll. I mean, you think about how quickly they were able to close the distance here last time out, Avril. They have no time now, but they're already gaining so much distance.
Yeah, it's a late kill in Monk as well, so the huge stagger coming on through. And you saw, by the way, Nisha popping Valkyrie, like you said, a bubble from Dicey to assist to maybe get the res, but Nisha still died instantly. They couldn't res Leave, so that killed to Leave initially with the pulse bomb from Profit. So good, and now a potential second cap. They don't even need this. This is already enough distance. Everything from here is all bonus for Seoul.
One would think. Duplicate nearly there. Nisha, however, gone. Leaf going to come diving in. The duplicate now is online, but they need to contest this card. 122 meters left to go. They finally get the touch with the grab now. Going to be coming out from Smurfs, making sure that no one can come close, and if they do, they get pulled into the vortex and will be dealt with. It's a team kill coming through as they're going to break through the castle walls yet again.
Dude, this is just a repeat of what we saw in the initial time phase, right? With Seoul snowballing through both A and B. Well, this time it's a proper snowball through A. Last time took him a bit of extra time. With 1 minute, they're already on to see. We've got a ton of ultimates online for the Chengdu Hunters. One sound barrier to block everything, though.
Prophet nearly with the pulse bomb, takes the recall out to safety, but now he's got the bomb online. Sound barrier is there from Vidname to try to counteract this grab. They get the lockdown there onto Smurf. Throw in the bio, can't get the kill, and it's going to be Prophet actually into the back lines. He gets the kill on the Nisha, and he doesn't even need to use the ult to do it. Now he has the stick on the Monk. The supports have been dealt with. Prophet is just wreaking havoc in the back lines for the Chengdu Hunters. Dynasty slept, finished off Leaf, is not going to be allowed to escape. Jinmu will not either. Prophet narrowly closes the gap, gets the elimination. Now the card is rounding the final corner. There's still attack visor here as well for Fitz. Could just cut them down the sides. There is nothing to work with here for the side of the Chengdu Hunters. They just
not even going to touch.
Fight Leave again in desperation. Tries to swap to the Sojourn, but no one gets there in time. They will get 6 points a minute to start. And the Dynasty, after taking over 30 seconds to assess and swap their comps, push all the way to the end of Eichenwald.
It's just insane snowballing coming through from the Seoul Dynasty. Good knowledge and pacing in terms of, okay, what kind of area control do we need? What do we need to do on this type of map? And what kind of economy do we need to play through? And you see a very similar thing where we get to see, and there's a very specific interaction and timing where Vidname has held the sound barrier long enough that if they need to snowball further on C, which they did, one sound barrier counted 3 ultimates from the Chengdu Hunters, which is kind of why I expected in regulation time. You know, I said earlier they had the 1 sound barrier and a bunch of ultimates for the Chengdu Hunters. This time around, it really just to stop everything. And Prophet went full sicko mode here as well. He's been full sicko mode the entire way through. We saw what he did on B. He got the initial kill onto Lee, which didn't end up getting rezzed. And Prophet did not slow down this entire way through. I mean, playing out of his mind for sure.
I looked away for a moment, but I didn't quite get the number, but I saw he went down to like, what, 3 HP there after the pulse bomb went off. So nearly gave his life for the play. Absolutely massive, and I mean, that is shades of playoff Prophet off the rip there. It's Leaf just playing with our hearts. We'll just go back over to the Echo, which I think most people cheering for Chengdu Hunters are going to breathe a sigh of relief there. See him go back over to this pick rather than Sojourn.
Just the one clear breath while still hyperventilating at the fact that they have to push 3 points in 1 minute. Leaf will go for a bit of a change here as well. Soldier, okay, want to make it a safe play. Don't want to risk the Echo into Fitz's Soldier, which has been absolutely dynamite so far. So, first 30 seconds gone, very similar to what we saw with Seoul. And Jinmu's dead.
Prop. Damages the dodge out of the Helix Rockets, getting Jinmu at the same time. Time recall. Takes himself out to safety. Dynasty beaten and battered, has to pull back around to safety. He's down below half HP. Smurf just sitting up top of the walkway here, pumping out the damage. 8 seconds remaining, and they need a touch. It's going to have to be Nisha, you would suspect, trying to make it work.
Jinmu's low again.
3 seconds remaining. Is anybody going to be close? And Nisha narrowly gets there in time. Will force out OT, but they lose Jinmu en route over to the point here. Robin just looking for a target. The Nano going to be used. Goes over onto Dicey. He will find one. Get the Sleep Dart in for just a moment there onto Smurf. They get the finishing blow. 100 energy here, and has to be respected. Fitz is legging it away, just trying to stay safe, but as he returns, takes out Leaf, takes out Monk. 1.5 ticks so far coming through, but the DPS duo are still alive. Fitz will find Jinmu yet again. As soon as he comes back over the point, Jinmu is just not getting to play in this overtime round. The visor comes through. He's looking for a target, sets up the kill onto Nisha. Daisy now falls, and that will be it. They will hold it in overtime, and the Seoul Dynasty look absolutely immaculate in overtime.
So much better on the Eichenwald. I would even say, during regulation there as well, just a much cleaner run through. And highlighting Fitz, I mean, how many hero plays did Fitz have at the end of the day on this Soldier? It looked like Chengdu. I mean, we'll talk about the overtime there. Jinmu, you're right, didn't get to play the game. Constant first deaths there. Leaf had a couple of good moments on the Soldier, but really, to me, Fitz 27 final blows on the Soldier. 22,500 damage over the course of that entire map. And that's out of, by the way, if you're wondering how many total final blows Seoul got versus Chengdu, 77. The entire team combined, 77 final blows. It's so many kills. Seoul Dynasty, what a map.
A very bloody affair here for both sides, but I mean, it's the Dynasty who are walking away, profiting from that win. They are now up 2-0. Chengdu Hunters need to pull off a reverse sweep if they want to kick off their 2022 season up with 2 wins. We'll see if they can do that. We'll see if they can rally back. It's going to be Route 66 coming up next for our escort map. The Dynasty are poised to take this, which is, I think, something that after what we've seen from Dynasty thus far, what we saw from Chengdu Hunters yesterday is not what we had anticipated. But we'll see what happens. There's always the chance that something can slip through their fingers. We'll find out when we come back from the break, so don't go anywhere, guys. Route 66 is coming at you in just a few. And we are back and potentially going into what could be a final map of this series. Seoul Dynasty right now leading 2-0. Wild and crazy things occurring there on Eichenwald. I mean, reminiscent of what? Fusion versus Shanghai on Kings Row, I believe it was, with that crazy OT push coming through. The overextension from Lee Jae-gon and whatnot. It was a bit questionable, I suppose, in the end here. But here we are. Seoul Dynasty, they have an incredible overtime run. They're on Eichenwald to make it all the way to the end of the map, and then they just deny even point A away from the Chengdu Hunters. Looked like for maybe a moment they were going to be able to break through, but Jinmu unable to play the game the entire time, just getting picked off time and time again as he re-arrives. Now we look to Route 66 to be the staging grounds for the start of a reverse sweep for the Chengdu Hunters if they want to win this series.
And a substitution coming in for the Chengdu Hunters, Gaga for Daisy. What I'm seeing here is that despite a lot of teams actually having, just for context, this is the Escort map, and if you look across the board where teams have been going towards strategy-wise for Escort, usually the off-tank player, either the Zarya or the Sigma, something like that. But we are going to be seeing Gaga coming back in, so I think they're losing confidence a little bit in the Zarya pick from Daisy. It's kind of getting crushed by Smurf a little bit. That's maybe one matchup I haven't touched on enough yet, but Smurf is outperforming Daisy for the most part in that sort of, not a 1v1, but a tank matchup, if you could say. Another big talking point has been the lack of Leave Tracer so far in the series. Probably Tracer doing a ton of great things. Haven't seen Leave play that hero just yet.
Yeah, and we haven't seen it. It's going over to the Soldier 76. We've seen the Ashe. I mean, you know, compared to that series just yesterday for the Chengdu Hunters, Leave looking a lot more inconsistent, a lot more uncertain as far as what he wants to run. We've been seeing him kind of swapping back and forth, saying, no, actually, I will do this, rather than just, you know, sticking with something that is a bit more meta, that is a bit more proven. And even when he is playing the things like the Soldier 76, he's got these moments where he's finding an immense amount of value, but the team cohesion isn't really there to fully play off the back of those carry moments from Leave.
And this is where I have to kind of criticize the Chengdu composition hero pool situation. Again, it's not really Leave's problem because he's the most flexible player probably on both teams, but the issue comes down to Leave is now the hit scan player on this team officially. Jinmu is the flex DPS player on this team. Why that's a problem is Jinmu doesn't have a Tracer. Only now he's shown an Echo. Good, that's one hero ticked off the list that every flex DPS player should have. What's happening on every other team is that their flex DPS players are also the Tracer players. Look at Prophet. Clear example. Fitz is your hit scan player, he's going to be on the Soldier. So, your Soldier player and your Tracer player on Chengdu are the same person. We haven't seen Jinmu on Soldier. We don't know if he's good on Soldier. We have seen Jinmu on Tracer. It wasn't good. You don't want him to be playing your Tracer. So, sadly, we get back to the same argument that we've been talking about pre-season, that all the pundits have been talking about pre-season. If a Pruda was here, he'd be your Soldier player, Leave would be free to play the Tracer. And you're already seeing it in these opening compositions. Prophet, Tracer, Fit, Soldier. Chengdu simply cannot play that composition because Soldier and Tracer both belong to Leave, and Jinmu can't play those heroes.
I am muted at the moment. I hope I haven't been muted this entire time.
Have you? Oh, that would have been... Just me talking to nobody. Love that. Gaga actually coming through on a Zarya. And that, I think, says a lot about the kind of confidence for Chengdu Hunters, where they're like, yeah, we do actually want to play Zarya on this map. And usually Daisy would be playing the Zarya on this map, but instead, we're not feeling Daisy anymore. It's going to have to be Gaga. Gaga has the faith and trust of the whole team to carry on this pick. Smurf on the Winston to begin with. One of his classics.
Just going to be jumping away back up here onto Big Earls. Play around the back of the sign. Keep himself protected for the moment. As these arrows from Jinmu can be quite deadly. So it needs to deny as much away from them as he possibly can. Big Bio goes out though, catches on to 3. Both supports going to fall. Gaga going to be taking a nap. The cleanup will come through. They hit that one ability. Creative sets it up and everybody just jumps in to feast. So
straight back
will
spawn.
Be able to escape.
And Smurf even, you know, going towards the spawn doors there as well. A little bit of extra damage. Gaga getting a reset here. Can barely build up any energy. I mean, it's going to be pretty tough. Payload distance is pretty minuscule as well. Jinmu on one of his better heroes. So, yeah, he's been on the Hanzo for a while now. But really, his best target is going to be Smurf. Unless he can sort of dual Fitz long range.
So he isn't finding too many connections, not too much damage. Oh, that could have been a really nice opening headshot there on a Prophet, but doesn't manage to make it happen. And instead of Prophet, I mean, he's just got people gliding right in front of his face. He comes up with 2 quick kills. Nisha into Jinmu, and looking for a little bit more. Dash forward, gets Monk, and I mean, this is playoffs Prophet Tracer right here. In throws, gorgeous play, gorgeous just maneuvering.
Gorgeous tracking, beautiful tracking even. At this point, I think Leaf should dump his 81% ult charge, go to the Tracer, Nisha go towards the Brig, because here's the problem. Prophet has no count, there's nothing to stop Prophet. You have the Hanzo, Echo, Mercy. The only person that can do anything about Prophet is Monk on this Ana, and he's only one player to support. So Prophet is literally in Candyland. He's at Disneyland partying right now because he's just free, he's unlocked.
Yep, into the back. I mean, he's antied. He doesn't care. That's not going to force him to just go ahead and auto-recall. He stays, gets the kill, follows up for another one off screen. He kills off Gaga. He even gets the kill, taking it away from Fitz. Gets Nisha. Prophet is just completely off the chain right now.
What is this? There are 9 final...
Somebody has to deal with him.
Seoul has 14 final blows. Prophet has 9 of them. Prophet is outpacing everybody in just about every single metric so far. You can't deal with him because there's no counters on Chengdu whatsoever. No Tracer to contest Prophet, no Brig. Hanzo doesn't do anything against a Tracer, so they're literally just getting rolled by Prophet on one hero right now, and Chengdu have no answer, or at least they have answers, but they're choosing not to use them.
I mean, you're basically just praying that he's going to jump in front of one of your arrows and get clipped in the skull, but that is not happening. I mean, he goes into the back, he finds Nisha, the Nano goes out on the Leaf, but Leaf can't do a damn thing. Jinmu is falling off the side of the map, Prophet's still there to get the kill. Of course he is. Prophet's everywhere.
There it is, there's the break. And now Leave.
Prophet is omnipotent on this map right now. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is everywhere and nowhere all simultaneously.
If Chengdu cannot identify that that is the biggest problem right now for them to deal with, then call it 3-0. It's finished. It's done. At this point, it's looking like a full health. 30 seconds left to Kilios, and there's nothing to work with for the Chengdu Hunters. Their further assault charge is 54% for Lead.
I mean, Nisha's just getting dumped. The bio goes out. It clips onto both of the supports, and Prophet is just taking away both of the kills yet again. The rallies there from Vinham just keeping everybody else topped up, and this is a hopeless affair. This is a cool mat situation, but somebody on the side of the Chengdu Hunters is screaming to Mandarin, please kill Prophet, please, and no one can do it.
No, not a single person. Nisha going to come back to maybe touch. Jim will get the first touch. Smurf has a primal. Prophet and Fitz will have ultimates one. Yeah, call it. It's done.
Leaves swapping back to the Sojourn again, just in desperation to try to get this touch, but there's the support. Gone off the rip. The dive is just too damn clean. The Seoul Dynasty, they say, you know what? We've had some rough matches so far. They got pushed to the brink into a Game 5 yesterday versus the Valiant, and seems like that woke them the hell up. This
crazy
is
crazy
the most lucid that they have looked so far.
Crazy that LA Valiant have had a closer game than Chengdu have versus Seoul. Just putting that out there into the world to put that one on the table for you to address however you like. It's a sad day for Chengdu, for sure. Not looking good at all. I mean,
I really almost just said, like, I almost just called the game right there. I forgot that we have to play another side. It feels like it's done.
Well, it's really just the other side is the coronation for Seoul, right? I mean, it's just they're on their way to get the crown on the forehead, or just on the head, really. Crown on the forehead would be interesting.
Yeah.
It's a formality. Really, it's 55 meters, it's a formality at this point. So, unless Jinmu goes back onto a Mei and does something crazy, which he probably shouldn't, because don't be fooled by the Mei semi-working Ike. Reaper is still better in that same position. Yeah, I don't see it. And the hero pool problems are coming to, bite Chengdu in the behind, as I would have predicted. You could say, oh, this meta is good for Genji. Jinmu can play Genji. Genji's starting to be pushed out of the meta now, slowly but surely. I mean, you ask Choi, he'll tell you different, but everywhere else, you'll see that Genji is slowly being pushed out. Prophet is just farming on this Tracer. Seoul look like they're on another level today, even compared to their previous days. We all know about playoffs Prophet, but today we're getting regular season Prophet, and it's just as good.
And it's a terrifying prospect. They definitely looked highly exploitable in their first 2 series, dropping 1 to the Spark, getting taken to a map 5 by the Valiant, but this is a completely night and day polar shift from the side of the Seoul Dynasty. And one that is welcome by all means, but certainly not anticipated. Nice big ante does come down, flips onto 3, but unlike what we saw at the very beginning of the Dynasty's defense, the dive isn't there to capitalize. It will get Smurf off the back end of that, though. Nisha finishing him with a whip shot, and Monk landing another Bionade will kill off Prophet. We buy some time for now. hell of a long road, though, if they want to win this map with a fuller hold.
And thank God for Monk, by the way, who has, I think, been the clear outstanding player for Chengdu today. The one player that I can confidently say is doing much better than his counterpart, or at least definitely better. Fitz is on the world's biggest flank as a soldier. Now, we saw him do this on Eichenwalde, and he got hilariously shut down. This time he gets to run it back and maybe find some value. Who's his target going to be? Probably a support player, I have to say.
And, yep, it's going to be Nisha. Helps set up the kill. Initial burst damage comes through from the Helix rockets. Now they have control of the gas station. Anti's out onto Gaga, and as the bubble expires, so will his life. He falls, and Fitz is just running away with it. Says, yep, I was hiding all along. They clean him up. They knock him down. And with plenty of time to spare, they will go ahead and slow creep up with the payload into the golden box of victory, completing an utterly dominant 3-0, at least in these last two maps. Seoul Dynasty starting things off looking very shaky on that Ilios, but man, they absolutely woke up.
Fitz, 2022 hide-and-seek champion on Route 66 nighttime. Call that one out there. I think part of the reason why they didn't look as strong on the Ilios is I'm going to chalk it up to poor composition building from the Seoul Dynasty. Yeah, I harp on comps a lot, but sure. I am the meta slave here, where, look, if you're playing stuff like Sombra and D.Va, it is just a poor read on the meta. That's not even my specific opinion. I talk to coaches plenty, and I get into those types of discussions about what's good in the meta, why it's good in the meta, and there's a general consensus, especially in NA, that heroes like Sombra and D.Va should just not be played. So if you're seeing Seoul bring that out, I mean, it's clear they are struggling on those types of maps where they're playing, in my opinion, wrong heroes. But then you get to the Eichenwalde, Smurf is smurfing on the Zarya, you get to Route 66, Prophet's going dynamite, and Prophet was doing that on the other map as well. But yeah, it's just Seoul. Once they get onto, I think, their comfortable and good heroes for the meta as well, they're on a different level.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and take a look at our player of the match. I think this might catch a couple people off guard, but for one, I kind of welcome it. It's going to be Vindame picking it up there in the support role. And while he might not have had it as explosive of a final map as we saw from Prophet right there, he wasn't taking over the lobby. He did play extremely consistently and strong for the Seoul Dynasty to really help them get those initial 2 wins.
And I think as well, if you sort of paid attention to a couple of things I said earlier, especially on Eichenwalde, there's a specific macro timing that Vindame always had. He had sound barriers up exactly when he needed to, got maximum value on these sound barriers time and time again, was able to be active in the kill feed, as we're seeing in some of these highlights here as well. The fact that he can just counter several ults from Chengdu at the same time in one move is probably on one hand, on one side of the coin, potentially a mistake from Chengdu to overinvest, and on the other hand, Vindame just not being pressured to use sound barrier out of place, and being at the right place at the right time, and being a solid force for this team. A rookie that came in from O2 Blast that was on loan from Genji, who is the academy team of the Seoul Dynasty. So when all the O2 Blast rookies got shipped over to the San Francisco Shock, Genji and Seoul Dynasty said, not this one, he's ours.
Yeah, I mean, so far it seems like this is, at least over here in APAC, the year of the rookies. You know, everybody who's kind of making their big debuts over here is really starting to impress and perform for their respective squads. Fusion have their plethora of rookies who are looking like, you know, maybe even top of their roles. Vinheim here performing extremely well as well. So this could be the year of the rookie. I think that new Rookie of the Year award is going to be so very tightly contested. Everybody going to be vying for that honor. So we'll have to wait and see who gets it at the end of the year. But man, what a way for this series to go. Not at all what I had anticipated, but you know, still I think a breath of fresh air all the same, because we expect that Dynasty are going to be a competitive team this season in the region. The first 2 series that they played did not inspire that at all. This is a bigger return to form, a big return to kind of line up with our expectations coming into APAC 2022. But guys, we're going to go to a break. Avril and I will return in just a couple minutes and unpack a little bit more from this 3-0 at the hands of this Seoul Dynasty.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, welcome back, guys. Time to just break down a bit of the action that we just saw. There was a hell of a lot of it, but it's very much in the hands of the Seoul Dynasty in the end, especially that last map of Route 66. Question for you this time around, Avril, is what does this say about the power balance in the region? Can we read into this too much yet, or does this say quite a bit?
Put Chengdu right at the bottom, Seoul to the top. Seoul definitely recovered themselves a little bit. I think Chengdu was always a little bit in a weird place in the opening weekend because we'd only seen one game, right? I had someone else ask me, he's like, okay, well, how would you rank the 7 teams? And I left Chengdu out because I was like, I don't have enough data off of the 1-3-0 they got off of Guangzhou. If I was going to be really honest, I still think Guangzhou is struggling more because Chengdu and Guangzhou both look lost at certain times, but Chengdu at least have, in some ways, some of that star power and leave. Well, I think he's been probably a little bit quieter compared to last year, but then at the same time, Guangzhou have choice at 1. It's hard to say. I think both teams are maybe being slightly miscoached at the moment, or there's maybe a bit of a gap in certain areas. I think Dicey got a bit exposed versus Smurf today, for example, and even when Gaga came in, it didn't really change that much, right? The needle didn't really move. Seoul definitely move up for me comfortably, though. I think just seeing everybody pop off like they should, Smurf in the second 2 maps really stick to his guns and say, okay, I'm going to play Winston, I'm going to play Zarya, no more of these other heroes. You know, we got rid of the Smurf tank roulette, which was really important to me in terms of the criticism that was laid on Smurf previously. Prophet and Fitz playing their best hits. Vindane got player of the match for good reason, and Creative had a solid game. I think Monk had a better game than Creative, but Creative still had a very solid game, right?
Yeah, I very much agree with you. I was trying to, maybe bait out like a transitive property reference, go through the motions of like what this means, and like, the Guangzhou Trojan out at the bottom of the Valiant's up here, yada, yada, yada. But I think this was very much a similar situation to the Dallas Fuel, losing that series to the Houston Outlaws, coming back in and just starting to take names left, right, and center. It seems like the Seoul Dynasty have righted the ship, at least for now. Whether or not it lasts for throughout the rest of this tournament cycle, we'll have to just wait and see, but we'll be watching with bated breath, much like we'll be watching our next series, our final one of the weekend to round out week 1 here in APAC. It's going to be the Hangzhou Spark going up against the LA Valiant, so say hello to Tezande in chat. I'm sure he's going to be there spamming his wings out. We will go into that action in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere.